So there was these 6 police officers that got caught in this.
Louisville police officers, right?
Louisville police officers that got caught in this scheme where they were basically they were working for this private security company, and they were charging the LMPD as if they were on shift. So they would, what had happened, this was Officer Jackie Miller started a private security company, and he hired 5 of his fellow officers. They would provide security for local businesses. You pay some extra money. We'll come out there and sit in the parking lot in a cop car or, whatever they needed security for. And they were regularly doing this while they were getting paid from the taxpayers, while they were on duty. And this and of course, this is theft. This is theft from the city, theft from the taxpayers. This got found out. They had been doing this regularly it was right about a year that this scheme was going on. Officer Jackie Miller also was apparently getting cuts of their paychecks when they were doing this while they were on shift, where they would give him a little bit of the money that they were getting.
It was like 10% from each one.
Yeah. So anyways, the other 4 officers in this picture, they have already resolved their charges. They have all been able to keep their jobs. They got put on administrative reassignment. I think some of them had to do some community service, had to pay back some of the money. I don't know if the money was equal to what they actually took or if they're just having to make some, paltry symbolic reparations. Officer Jackie Miller, who is the ringleader of this outfit, he has lost his law enforcement license, no jail time, and he ended up having to plead guilty to theft by deception.
That's a misdemeanor, isn't it?
It's just it's writing a cold check. That's what theft by deception is.
Dude. This is a fraud. This is fraud.
Yeah, this is felony fraud. Absolutely, because
this is work for fraud.
This wasn't just like, hey, I told my boss I worked a couple hours. This was an organized group of people that were knowingly defrauding tens of thousands, probably, between over a year, 6 cops over a year, probably well more than $100,000, something like that, from the taxpayers. And they were all indicted by a grand jury, so they were all facing felony charges, and somehow or another, none of them were able to stick. The strongest charge that they've been able to get to stick was essentially writing a cold check, very low-level misdemeanor. Yeah, so just a couple more of the few bad apples. We talked about the LMPD previously, talked about other police departments previously. Most of them are very, very good guys. There just happens to be a bunch of the few bad apples just that we're picking on and trying to apply that horrible label to all of them. But it was argued in all of their cases that their low sentences or lack of sentences was attributed to the great work that they did for the community in the past. I'm not sure if this is any representation of the work that they've done. It doesn't seem like they have been doing that great of work. I don't like the idea that just being a I guess what you call a public servant, filling that role in society, or not filling that role in society, but getting that title necessarily means you are helping the community. Just because you're a cop, just because you're an EMT, there's all sorts of jobs that provide really important roles to the community. It's the individual that's actually doing the good for the community or not doing the good for the community. I don't think just having that title qualifies anybody for actually having done any good. But of course, this is part of the cops' excellent PR in this country, and they could just say, "Hey, I'm a cop. I do good for the community," and so ignore all the bad that I do. So these cops were on the payroll. I kind of had an issue with them working for private security because my understanding was since they were on duty, they were showing up to this other job, this private job, as representatives of the city. Louisville. They were there in their police vehicles and their police uniforms. From what I was reading, there wasn't really an issue with this. This wasn't being talked about as something that anybody was concerned about, and I certainly would be concerned about it. I don't want a representative of the city out there on the payroll of a private business. I don't know why we should have to pay for the gas and for the wear and tear on vehicles as they're being...
all the gear.
All the gear, all this stuff. Training, all this crap.
Insurance, all that shit.
Yeah, while they're out there, making money from private entities alone, regardless of whether or not they're also if they're stealing money from the metro government at the same time.
Well, these seem like mostly minorities here, this group of officers, and I have a lot of white guilt, so I'm going to go ahead and defend these guys. I think they were probably doing a good thing for a couple reasons. For one, what they were doing had to have been better at what they normally do, which is like beating people up, robbing them, like shooting people, shaking people down, stealing money and drugs from people, planting drugs on people, shooting people's dogs. You know how these guys are. They're probably, what they were doing, working security for these private businesses, is probably much better than what they were normally doing.
Yeah, true that. I mean, I guess they'd just be sitting out in their car watching porn, which is, harmless enough.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly rather than do that than going out and busting me while I try to buy an 8-ball. Jesus.
If they're going to overfund police so much that they can take another job simultaneously to their current shift, then more power to them. They're not hustling money from the city because the city's going to pay them either way. They're hustling money from these private businesses, so fuck them. I think overall, this is a positive, I think. We need to get all these cops second jobs, working drive-thrus, washing cars, shining boots. That'd give them some character at least.
I never really thought about it like that. Yeah.
Put them to work.
Yeah, get them all, just
get a real
let them
job.
draw their check. Let them draw their check from the city and make them a Walmart guard at the same time.
Yep. That's a good
Walmart
idea.
requires them to show up. So they're just sitting in there yelling at 16-year-olds for shoplifting, which fair enough.
They could all be security at the local high school to prevent mass shootings.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work out, but it's maybe worth trying.
And arresting teenagers for like fighting.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope. We don't want them making the deal in high school, so do we?
Making the deal.
the deal from the
That's what they do. They rape all the fucking high school girls.
Listen, sweetheart.
Got a
This
deal
is your
for
third
you.
time. This is your third time showing up late for algebra. Here's what's going to happen. You could either do this or your parents find out. So, what's it going to be?
Doing you a favor here, honey.
I'm doing you a favor. I'm looking after you, sweetheart.
The exchange of sexual favors for staying out of jail has been described to us as the deal.
Now they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.